Thai food, always a good Shabbat choice.
Especially the couple next door.
Yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai yada dai dai. This is Nigun. Yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai yada dai dai, yai dai 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 dai. Yay, die, 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 yay, die, die. Yay, die, 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 yay, die, die, yay, die, die. Yay, die, 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 yay, die, 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 die. Yay, die, 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 die, yada, die, die. Yay, die, 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 die. Yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai yada dai dai. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
So before we move into the space of Shabbat, I want to reassure everyone my marriage is fine. I one time forgot to wear my wedding ring, and someone came up to me at a life cycle event for their deceased parent, and with so much love and concern pulled me aside and said, Rabbi, can I talk to you? And I said, sure. I thought they wanted to talk about their parent who had just passed away, or some family, something was happening. I said, what's going on? And she held my arms and with beautiful tears of worry and concern in her eyes said, is everything okay with you and Sebastian? And I was like, yeah, why? What have you heard? And she said, it's because you're not wearing your wedding ring. And I'm happy if I can get out the door with clothes on that match. So I looked down because I didn't know I wasn't wearing my wedding ring. I was like, oh yeah, we're fine. I was like, I have no idea why I put, and this morning I grabbed half of my jewelry. So I have my engagement ring, but not the wedding ring. So I feel like I'm very much in the mode of Shabbat right now. I'm ready for something beautiful and loving and joyful, but I haven't completed it yet. And I'll put my ring on when I get home, and it'll be like an experiential Shabbat thing. So when you tell this story on the streets, the story is it's a new spiritual meditative practice to only put your ring on after Shabbat starts, because God and Israel have remarried each other. Right? Yeah, exactly. You're like, your wife needs some vacation or help, one of the two. So, yeah, but I feel weird because it's like half and half. Just didn't get, I'm unbalanced, but I'm usually unbalanced, so that's okay. So before we moved into the sanctity of Shabbat tonight, I'm going to do the business of the week, which is to remind everyone that our mitzvah of the month is we are collecting backpacks and supplies for backpacks because it is almost back to school. It is back to school season. I don't know, for those of you who have kids who are out of the school system, you may not know, but some of you have grandchildren that you've been blessed with. The San Diego Unified, for reasons that I cannot begin to fathom, has decided that the middle of August is a great time to start the school year. And then we're going to get out basically at the end of May, beginning of June. So that works well for weather, because I know it really helps students concentrate when we're in our monsoon season in August, and it'll be like 110 in our unair-conditioned classrooms here. So really excited about that development that they've made, which means that now is back to school shopping season. So for those of you who love back to school shopping and you don't get to do it anymore, this is our mitzvah of the month. So go pick out some fun backpacks. Think not just about the elementary school kids, but the high school kids too who are on these lists, because we always get a lot of great stuff for elementary school kids, but high school kids need supplies as well. So what are those calculators?
Graphing calculators.
Graphing calculators if you want to go big. No. I assume they're needed. But we need backpacks, papers and notebooks, colored pencils, crayons, pens, pencils, and sharpeners, glue sticks, white glue, rulers, and safety scissors. and they can go into the White Barrel at the synagogue front office. Any other synagogue announcements? I'll remind everyone that we still have our Torah writing project coming up. We just scheduled our dates with the SoFair, so we're waiting back for confirmation. So if you haven't already gotten to participate and sponsor a word, a verse, a parsha, all the different levels that we created, it's not too late. We're going to be doing it all the way through when the new Torah is here, and she's so pretty, you guys. She's so pretty. So be sure and look online so you can participate in that, and that will be good. Okay. And so I think those are all my announcements. Any other announcements? Okay. Then let's welcome in Shabbat with the lighting of our Shabbat candles on pages 2 and 3. And so, listen, every yard site is important and special, but it is Stacy's yard site tonight. So BJ, I'm going to invite you and anyone from the row who would like to join you, anyone who's here tonight remembering Stacy, to come up and light our Shabbat candles together. That's okay. You've got backup.
I got back up, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was fun.
Thank you so much.
What
Yeah.
page is it under?
Pages 2 and 3.
Oops.
No falling
Hey, I've never
over.
done this before, so.
Hi, Stacy. It's okay. You're all right. Let's see if we can.
Okay, you have to hold it by the silver.
Yeah.
We have
There we
a
go.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Lynn. Okay. Got it.
There we go. Bring the light of Shabbat to you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. And we'll read on page 3. As these candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. That's okay. And we're going to come forward now to page 12. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladonai. Naria, naria, litzor yishenu, nikad ma panav b'todah. Naria, naria, litzor yishenu, bizmirot naria lo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladonai. 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 Shiru ladonai kol haaretz, shiru, shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash. Shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz shiru, shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash. At the bottom of that page, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Page 14. Or zaruach latzadik uyishrei lev simcha. It's the third paragraph down. Or zaruach latzadik uyishrei lev simcha. Or zaruach latzadik uyishrei lev simcha. Uyishrei lev simcha. Or zarua latzadik uyishrei lev simcha. Uyishrei lev simcha. Or zarua latzadik uyishrei lev simcha. Or zarua latzadik uyishrei lev simcha. And let's go forward now to page 19. This last one of the warm-up psalms, this is really what Kabbalat Shabbat's about. It's about singing our way into Shabbat. And I love that idea that we should just be singing our way through life. Because, I don't know, the world's been a little rough lately. I feel like I say that way too often these days. And it's easy to despair our way through life. It's very easy to kvetch our way through life. And it's very easy to cry our way through life. There is suffering enough for all of it. But whether we sing, despair, kvetch, or cry, the only thing that's going to change is how we're responding to what's around us. And sometimes we have to cry because we have to release the pressure valve on the tears. And there's a line in the Zohar, made famous by that very not good 80s movie, A Stranger Amongst Us. That God counts the tears of women, which is the Zohar's commentary on how God measures the amount of suffering in the world. And first of all, it's gender biased because men can and should cry too. But what a beautiful concept that God counts the tears so that God can know how bad the suffering is in the world. So crying is good. It's calling God's attention. I like to call God's attention to many moments. We can kvetch our way through the world. Sometimes kvetching is for purposes of wholeness and holiness. And sometimes kvetching, it can bring us down. And so the question we have to ask ourselves when we're kvetching, because kvetching is really like it's neutral, it could go in either direction. Is the kvetching letting out angst, sorrow, suffering, stress that needs to be released so that it can be borne onto the wind and float away? Or is the kvetching giving us energy to live off of? If the kvetching is giving us energy to live off of, it might be that we've become Lashon Hara addicts. And so then we have to think about, is this holiness of kvetching, or is this poking holes in my soul holiness of kvetching? So kvetching we have to keep an eye on. Crying can be good. Kvetching we have to keep an eye on. And then there's the despairing. What does despair achieve? Nothing. Our tradition teaches it's okay to sit and cry and lament. We even have a whole day for it that's coming up, Tisha B'Av. I hope people will join us for our Tisha B'Av program that we're going to be doing. We're showing a movie about October 8th. And we will take some time to think about Jewish despair, how we respond to it, how we move through suffering with intentionality. So that is holiness. Kvetching, I mean, it's the way of our people. As Carrie Fisher said in her one-woman show, it has to be funny, otherwise it's just true. So the truth is that these things happen in our world, and then we kvetch about it to give voice, to give angst, to express ourselves. And the truly noble amongst us kvetch with humor so that we elevate our suffering by making it a source of laughter. But despair, our tradition teaches we should have no time for. Because what does despair do to our soul? Nothing good. And this is why I beg, I implore us to limit the amount of time that we spend watching and consuming network news, especially the talking heads and the commentary shows. They do nothing but foment despair. Even when we think they're being funny and it's snarky, it is fomenting despair. Because when was the last time that one of those talking head shows offered an actual solution? Offered an actual plan? I have people coming up all the time and they'll despair about the war in Israel and Gaza. And they say, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this, we need to do that. I'm like, I agree. Write me the plan and I will submit it to Bibi. Write me the plan. How do we do it? I despair over many things, but when we only despair, we're not solution oriented. We're not thinking about how to move ourselves in the world forward. And so what is the best answer that Jewish tradition offers? Kabbalat Shabbat, which is we sing our way into life. We sing our way into our sorrows. We sing our way into our joy. We sing our way into our lament. We sing our way even into our crying, so long as we're singing. Because what does singing automatically do? Makes us smile. It relaxes our souls. It gives us power. It gives us energy. We know that feeling. Think of your favorite song right now. Think of it popping onto the radio. And all of a sudden, as I'm looking around the room, I'm seeing more people smiling a little bit because they're thinking about their favorite song. And it makes us feel whole or moved or inspired. So we're going to sing our way into Shabbat. We're going to sing our way through the suffering that we've suffered this week and the suffering of the world. And in doing so, we commit ourselves to, after we've taken time to refresh ourselves, to building a better world together. And so on page 19, these last two lines of this psalm, of Psalm 29, we say, Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. God give strength to your people, and God bless your people with peace. I think we can all agree that these are some things that the world is in need of. And knowing you can interpret the Hebrew however you want in your head. Amo, your people, God, we could just be referring to ourselves as the Jewish people. But that feels a little selfish. So what if we expand the definition and understand that all people are made from God and are God's creations? And so how about we pray for peace for everyone? If you know this tune, great, join me. And if not, you'll learn it eventually. Remember, there was a first time you heard your favorite melody for everything, and it was new and strange. You might have been 6 months old. You might have been in the womb, but there was a first time. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. V'shalom. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabla lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabla shamor vezachor bedibur echad hishmianu el hameuchad Adonai echad ushmo echad l'shem u'tiferet v'litchila lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabla shlikrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi mekor habracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabla hitoreri ki va'orech u'miori Uri, shir daberi. Kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha dodi. Likrat kala. Penei Shabbat. Nikabla. Yamin usmol. Tifrotzi ve'et Adonai taritzi al yadish ben partzi v'nismecha v'nagila lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabla boi v'shalom ateret bala gam besimcha uvetzola toch emunei am segula boi chala lecha dodi Penei Shabbat nikabla lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabla We've welcomed Shabbat. It's time to welcome each other. So turn around, say hi, introduce yourself, make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. Shabbat shalom. How are you? Good. Good, thank you. I'm solo tonight, like it used to be in the olden times. And hi, everyone who's watching us from home. Thank you. If you can't, it's okay. Yai la 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 la, page 28. Yai la 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 la, yai la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch hu et Adonai Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach. Hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Hamevorach, Hamevorach, le'olam va'ed. Let's take a seat. And on page 31, my favorite reading for the Ma'ariv Arvim when we don't do the Hebrew, this beautiful Amos Oz reflection, the very bottom of the page. I know that the tide is not an independent force, but merely the submission of the water to the movement of the moon in its orbit. And this orbit is in turn subject to other orbits, which are mightier far than it. And so the whole universe is held fast in the clinging grip of strong hands. The forces of earth and sun, planets and comets and galaxies, blindly erupting forces, ceaselessly stirring in ripples of silence to the very depth of black space. Baruch atah Adonai, ha-ma'ariv aravim. But as my dear friend of blessed memory, Andy Friedman, liked to remind all of us in a wonderful interview and article that he gave, probably about 20 years now, Andy said, a journalist asked him, does it ever make you feel lonely or depressed looking out into black empty space? And Andy said, absolutely not. It makes him feel incredibly alive and significant. Why? Because, as Andy or any good physicist will tell you, it took millions of universes of, it's now the Big Bounce theory, not the Big Bang theory. So the universe explodes into being and then collapses in on itself. And then explodes into being again and collapses in on itself. And this process has happened over and over countless times in order to make material that was heavy enough to clump together to make molecules, to clump together to make matter. So it took billions of years of universe creation just to make this universe. And then within this universe, it took billions of years more to have everything that is currently in existence come into existence, including who's wearing gold right now because you didn't forget to put your ring on. All right, good, okay, good. So did you know that gold is the product of a sun that went supernova? It's the only way to make gold. A sun has to go supernova, and when it does, the speed and force of the every physicist right now is irritated watching me, of the molecules slamming into each other is what changes iron into gold. It has to have enough heat, enough speed, enough force, enough pressure. And that only happens when a sun explodes. And then those little pieces of transformed new material go flying through the solar system, and some of it landed here. And then we dug it up out of the earth and said, ooh, shiny. And figured out that we could hammer and shape it and turn it into beautiful adornments. So when you are wearing gold, you are wearing a piece of a sun that has been destroyed. It's fascinating, right? It represents billions of years of work and process just to become that. What an incredible thing. It's like a little miracle on your finger, or your earlobes, or your neck, or any other place you keep your gold. I don't need to know. And then Andy observed and commented, it took billions of years of evolution in order for life to grow on this planet, and for, say, a tree to be made that bears fruit, and for us to be able to then have evolved as human beings, and to have, I don't know, I say this, Andy would not have said this, God whisper the instructions of how to make bread in our ears, so that when we go out into the world, we take the natural resources that are available and make a cherry pie or an apple pie. Just to make an apple pie took billions of years of existence. It's a miracle. Every piece of challah is a miracle. And so no, when Andy looked out into the vast blackness of space, he didn't see loneliness. He saw incredibly explosive, incredible energy and evolution, and his desire to understand how it all worked. And in doing so, we learn that we should never feel existentially lonely, because God made this whole universe. Now this is the Jewish part talking, not the physicist Andy part talking. God made this whole universe, says this rabbi, so that each and every one of us could have the opportunity to exist and to enjoy some apple pie. And what a blessed miracle that is. So as we enter into this space of Shabbat, I would like each of us to turn to our neighbors. If you haven't already met them, say hi. But we're going to share one delightful, what we think of as just a gift of the universe and billions of years of evolution, something that you are looking forward to enjoying on this Shabbat, to sanctify this Shabbat, and to make your life better, not because it's something that you need. No one needs apple pie. But sometimes we need apple pie. No, I'm going to take out apple pie from the sentence because that's not actually my jam. We don't need chocolate, but we need chocolate. And that, to me, is proof that God loves us and that God exists. So turn and share with your neighbor something that you intend to enjoy on this Shabbat, because just like Torah, this is the gift of something that enriches our life and makes it better, and proof of divine existence in the world. Share. Hey, everyone at home, I'm going to have some chocolate on this Shabbat. I hope you'll text me or email me and tell me what you are planning to enjoy on this Shabbat. And we say, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Blessed are you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel, with the blessings that we have just shared. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam, Leolam Va'ed. Page 37. And you shall love Adonai, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be for frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house, and upon your gates, and upon your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God. On page 39, at the top of the page, there's a beautiful meditation. And the thing that I love about it is the thing that one of my dear friends and congregants back in New York hated about it. He said, "Rabbi, why are we reading something on Shabbat that tells us that the world is always bad? I don't like this reading, and I don't want you to ever do it again." I said, "Fair. I'm still going to do the reading. And the reason that I'm going to is because life is sometimes challenging and difficult. We are coming to Yeah. We are coming to the 602nd day of this war. And in addition to this war, the war in South Sudan has only increased and gotten worse. And the southern Sudanese continue to be slaughtered by the northern Sudanese, but because the whole world is only focused on one conflict, there's no protection for the South Sudanese people. And when this war began, Turkey began invading and harming villages all over Armenia, the Armenian territories. So villages have been wiped out and slaughtered. There continues to be prosecution and persecution of Christians in Iraq, and there continues to be persecutions of Muslims, the Uyghurs, in China. North Korean people continue to be ruthlessly oppressed and suppressed. And I could go on with this list, but I don't want to plunge us into an existential nightmare on Shabbat. And my point is, there is so much difficulty and suffering every day in this world. It's just a question of whether or not we're paying attention to it and we notice it. And it doesn't even need to be these massive global conflicts that we really can't affect. There are kids going hungry tonight in San Diego. There are families making choices between paying rent or buying food. This is why we have our amazing social action committee that does regular direct service support. Because while we try to affect positive legislation change to address all of the woes of the world, in the meantime, there are still people who are lacking and who don't have enough on any given day, in any given community, for any number of reasons. And so there is always challenge and difficulty. And I hope that that doesn't lead us to a place of despair. What I hope it does is it reminds us of how much opportunity there is to do good, even sometimes without huge amounts of effort. If we donate $1 to the San Diego Food Bank, I think it's that they can make 10 meals out of that. Because I don't know how, but they're magical wizards at the San Diego Food Bank. And so we sometimes think, oh, what's my little donation of $18 going to do? Well, the San Diego Food Bank, it's going to make 180 meals. It's amazing. Or, maybe the Pride Board is going to decide to platform someone who does hate speech. What are we going to do? We'll make our own Pride weekend, which we did, and did quite well, if I do say so myself, which I do. We have an incredible capacity to affect positive change. One other kind of suffering that is the easiest to alleviate is loneliness. Can anyone think of a friend? Raise your hand if you know that you have someone in your life, a family member, a friend, who's kind of that person who's always a little bit lonely, or they're somewhat isolated, or maybe people have stopped calling and checking on them since their loved one passed away, or they moved out of town. Can anyone think of someone in your life who you know who's lonely? Good. Now, raise your hand if you're going to call them on Shabbat to tell them, hi, thinking about you.
They live with me.
Okay, they live with you. So you can alleviate that loneliness pretty easily. Just the act of reaching out and connecting with someone alleviates suffering in the world. And some of the worst kind of suffering is that sense that no one cares whether or not you're around. We have so much ability and power. And so on the top of page 39, I want us to read this together now. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands and marching together. Yum bye bye bim biddy bum, yabba bye bye bim bum, yum bye bye bim biddy bum, yabba bye bye bim bum, ay 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 ay, yabba bye bye bim bum, ay 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 ay, yabba bye bye bim bum. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha ne'edar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot o sefel. Malechutecha ra'u vanecha bokeayam lifnei Moshe uMiriam zeli anu ve'amru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed yam bye bye bim biddy bum yabba bye bye bim bum yam bye bye bim biddy bum yabba bye bye bim bum, ay 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 ay, yabba bye bye bim bum, ay 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 ay, yabba bye bye bim bum. V'ne'emar ki fad Adonai Yaakov u'galo miad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai ga'al Yisrael. And let's read at the top of page 43. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 44. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם, ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. We rise together on page 46 for our Aleinu. We'll just say the opening together and the rest will be done in silence through page 62. You can have a seat when you're finished and we'll be back together in a few minutes. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. A brief word of Torah tonight, because I've given many words of Torah throughout the service, so you got a lot of baby sermons. And a brief word of Torah to bring them all home. So tonight is a special Shabbat because every Shabbat is special. But it's a very special Shabbat because it is Rosh Chodesh Av, which means that beginning tonight, we enter when the sun goes down into the first of the month of Av. And Av is a really difficult month for the Jewish people because in just 9 days, so next Saturday night, we'll have Tisha B'Av, which is the commemoration of the 9th of Av, which is historically a day of calamity and destruction for our people. The rabbis believe that the first temple was destroyed on Tisha B'Av. They teach that the second temple was destroyed, and we know that the outer walls were breached on Tisha B'Av. There were many pogroms that happened on Tisha B'Av. And the edict expelling us from Spain, 1400 something, came on Tisha B'Av. Kristallnacht or Programnacht, the clearing out of the Warsaw Ghetto. It is not a good season for Jews. We might ask why so many things always happen on this season, and that's a whole other broad conversation for a different day. Perhaps when summer comes and the heat of summer, people get really impatient and their awfulness comes out. I'm sure none of us have seen anything like that recently. And here we are living in a world where expressing virulent anti-Semitism, which, to be clear, that term itself is anti-Semitic. The term anti-Semitism was invented in I believe it was either the very late 1800s or early 1900s, by academics, I think in France, in order to describe Jew hatred, but to elevate it and make it sound more polite. So, haha, joke's on you, writers of anti-Semitism, because whether you call it anti-Zionism or anti-Semitism, it is all the same. It is the hatred and the persecution of the Jewish people. It is the holding of the Jewish people to a standard that no other group of human beings on this planet is held to, and attributing all of the sins of the world at our feet. And we are living through a terrible moment in history when Jew hatred is seen as a virtue. It is a form of virtue signaling. It is a way to gain entrance into social communities and circles. And in fact, you cannot hang out in certain places and spaces at this point, unless you express revulsion at Jews, at Zionism, at Israel. Choose the flavor. And I say this because on Tisha B'Av we should especially remember two things. One, the real danger that exists in the world when these things are allowed to foment unchallenged. And I am so proud of our Jewish community for standing up for ourselves. We are a people who have internalized Jew hatred for more than 2,000 years, who have believed that if we were virtuous enough, generous enough, kind enough, righteous enough, learned enough, giving back to the world enough, that we would earn our place at the table, the rest of humanity, that we would be seen as equals, that we would be accepted by our fellow peers as members of the human society. And October 7th has told us it's not exactly the case. But unlike in Germany in the 30s and the 20s when these things were fomenting, and Jews were quiet about calling out the increase in hatred and blaming of Jews for society's problems for whom they were not responsible, this time we are not going quietly into any night. We are yelling back, and it is something we have to do in our own circles, in our own camps, in our own houses, and our own communities. Teachers and retired teachers have to now yell back at their unions. Students have to yell back at their schools. The Pride community has to yell back at the San Diego Pride Board. All of us, regardless of political party affiliation, need to make sure that our local political clubs are not hotbeds of Jew-hating speech and sentiment. We are not going quietly into any night. And Tisha B'Av reminds us that the danger to Jews in this world is real. But we don't even need Av, the month of Av, to remind us, because we have DC, and we have Colorado, and we have the Pittsburgh and the Tree of Life, and we have the JCCs a couple decades ago. Unfortunately, we have way too many reminders. But the other beautiful message of Av is, there's a story that Rabbi Hillel, not Hillel, Akiva was looking at the destruction of the Second Temple, and he began laughing and singing psalms. And his students were sure he was having a nervous breakdown, because it's kind of what was happening. And they said, Rabbi, my master, what's with the singing? We're sad right now. Jerusalem's on fire. And he said, but don't you know, if this is true, so is the rest of the prophecy. And what he was referring to are the words of Jeremiah and Isaiah that say, there will be a time for calamitous awfulness in the world. A time when it feels as though God has turned away from us, or it feels as though the world will never be right or safe again for us. But the rest of the prophecy says, but when we turn our hearts to God and we continue to do what is right and good, not because the world will love us one day for it, but because we can hold our heads high with the dignity of what it is to be a Jew. Knowing that we are righteous, knowing that we study, that we learn, that we contribute, that we volunteer, that we support our neighbors, that we do all of these great Jewish values, not to earn a seat at the table, but because it's the right thing to do and it's who we are as a people. And we will be restored. Many generations have tried to harm us. Many generations have spoken against us. And we are the victory bearers of each of those ages. We are the survivors. We are tenacious. We are creative. We are funny. We know how and when to grieve and cry. We know how and when to lament. We know how and when to make fun of our own suffering, to bring joy and humor into the world, even in the most difficult of moments, in order to restore the soul. And we know how and when to sing, which is, of course, always. Because ultimately, as some very fantastic person said recently, and I cannot for the life of me remember who it was, Jew hatred is not a Jew problem, it's a world problem. The world has invented it, and they are responsible for solving it. Being good people is a Jew problem. Being funny people is a Jew pressure. Being clever is a Jew hope and goal. These are our problems. Figuring out how to get the aphids off of my tree is a Jew problem. Because by my ancestral knowledge, I know I'm supposed to be a Jewish farmer on some level. Because I'm not a Kohen, so obviously my people work the earth.
Ladybugs.
Finding the right ladybugs to mail order online, which is very weird to do, is a Jew problem. And so whether we are lamenting or crying or singing and dancing and telling funny jokes, sometimes, these are the things that we can and should pursue as Jews. And when we encounter Jew hatred, to oppose it loudly and proudly, roundly and soundly. But to be clear, it is not our job to solve it for the world. The world can figure that out. And one day when they look at our history and realize, man, no matter how much we try and whack-a-mole all these people, they just keep popping up everywhere. Like, right, so give your arm a rest and come hang out with us because we're really fun and funny and cool. And if you don't get it, that's a you problem, not a me problem. But that's what Av also comes to teach. So may we use this month of lament to express our sorrow at the suffering, but also to get ready for Elul. Because Elul is coming, and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Sukkot and Simchat Torah are coming. A new Torah is coming, and we are going to continue to do, as we enter Av, what we always do, which is build fabulous and amazing, vibrant Jewish life. That is the only response, because we will not ever despair. So with that, we'll rise for our Aleinu on bottom of page 282. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'teit gidula liotzer b'reishit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzon, velo samanu kamishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, v'nemar v'haya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo, Ushemo Echad. You can be seated. We come to our place of sacred memories. We welcome in the names and the memories of our loved ones to this room. We mark that we are in Shiva, the first week of mourning for Karen Porter, sister of Dorothy Shore. Is anyone else in Shiva?
Howard Labeson.
Thank you. And for Rabbi Howard Labeson, one of the giants of Camp Swig and of our PAR movement, and a dear friend. Thank you for the reminder. And if anyone is in Shloshim, and on this Shabbat, we invite anyone who's in Shana Rishonah, the first year of mourning.
Maisel, Margie Ospova.
Scats.
And on this Shabbat, we mark the yard sites for Ruth Shapiro, Beatrice Cart, Ruth Fairman, Robert Greenberg, Florette Halpern, Barry Parker, Sarah Zolot, Diane Schrager, Abraham Simkin, Lena Lawson, Albert Barrand, Natalie Libby, Robert Bresnick, M.J. Brown, Laura Cohen, Ada Glazer, Mark Bornstein, Dr. William Fritz, Jerry Karp, Bernard Kerman, Jan Olcott, Frederick Brose, Gertrude Rubin. Elsa Borman, David Glassman, Sheldon Deutsch, Herb Diamond, Jules Gordon, Mary Klein, Mary Schatz, Shirley Snipper, Joe Mentel, Shirley Strully, Pedro Abreu, Lillian Liba Warren, Norman Evidon, Irene Alexander, Louis Gardner, Caitlin Elizabeth Sipperstein, Stacy Kassendorf, Brian Wolf, and Esther Switkin. If there are any names to be added or names to be corrected, please share them with us. If it's your custom to rise with the mourners, we invite you to do so. Our Kaddish Yatom, our Mourner's Kaddish, is found on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma tivarach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei almayav. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei dekudesha breichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabba min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, huya asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Hamakom yinachem etchem b'toch sha'ar avlei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May God console all who are bereaved amongst our people, our homeland, and throughout our world. And together we say, Amen. Zichronam livracha, may the memories of the ones that we have loved and lost be a source of blessing and inspiration in our lives. And as we come to the conclusion of our service, sorry everyone at home, I didn't give you wine with your show. You probably partook anyway. We'll offer kiddush and motzi, so we'll come around with our cups and our challah. If I have some people who will volunteer. Ooh, well, that was me watering the carpet so it grows strong. I don't know if anyone's aware, but our carpet's coming close to the age of needing replacement soon, so maybe I'm trying to speed that process along. But the important part is it's unsweetened and it didn't land in an electric box. So, wonder of wonder, miracle of miracles. Victor, I'm sorry, I love you. Victor looks at me when I'm a klutz and goes, job security, girl, job security. Our kiddush is on page 5, I believe. Way back on the other end. And while, is I'll give it a minute to come around and we'll sing a nice song. Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, vehine tov me'od. Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, vehine tov me'od. There was evening, there was morning, there was evening, there was morning. Vayerev, vayivoker, tov me'od. Vayerev, vayivoker, tov me'od. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Shanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon inchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemigrei kodesh, zecher letziyat Mitzrayim, ki vaynu v'acharta ve'otanu kidasha mikol hamim. V'shavat kodshecha ve'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat l'chaim. I'm scared to put this down anywhere. Trying to see what shape it looks like. Any ideas? A car. It does kind of look like a modern car. Or like an old 40s car where the tires were covered, remember? From pictures, not because you remember. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz v'te'avon. Looks like a Hudson. Shabbat shalom, everyone.